This is what concealer looks like when you apply it the way most tutorials teach you. I'm going to show you every single step, and most of this you've never seen before. Let's start with the under eye first. I'm using the Rock Skincare Multi Correction Revive and Glow Eye Balm, and the way I apply this is different to how most people use eye cream. You want to use the smallest amount of eye balm, less than you think you need. And you need to tap it in with your ring finger using less pressure. I'm suggesting the ring finger only because it naturally applies the least pressure of any finger, and that protects the delicate under eye skin. And then you should wait a minimum of 5 minutes. And another thing that professional makeup artists do that no one else talks about is after we use the eye balm and it has absorbed, you either take a dry puff or your ring finger and gently press the skin underneath the eye. If your finger glides, you need to wait longer. If there's gentle resistance, you're ready. Now the eyelid, and this needs completely different treatment. The eyelid produces oil constantly, and no concealer, no matter how good the formula, will last on an oily surface. So what pro makeup artists do is we take a clean fluffy brush with a tiny amount of loose powder and dust it directly onto the bare eyelid before anything else. This step alone eliminates eyelid creasing for most people. Next step is color correction. I'm using two correctors today, one in mango and peach, and I'm mixing them together on the back of my hand before application. Mango cancels out deeper bluish tones and peach cancels out the more surface level purple and pink tones. Since I'm unwell today, I'm mixing these colors together, which is more specific to my darkness. Otherwise, I use peach. The ratio that I'm using is slightly more peach than mango. Adjust yours based on how deep your darkness is. The deeper and more blue tone the darkness, the more mango you want in the mix, meaning more orange. Now for application, I'm using this specific pointed brush and using patting motions only. You're placing this product and you're not painting it. Keep it only where the darkness actually is. Do not spread it across the entire under eye area. Precision here means that you'll need less concealer on top, which means less product to crease. And with whatever product is on the brush, I'm just applying this near my lashes. You do not want to go too close to your lashes either. We're getting rid of any form of darkness here. Let this set for 30 seconds before the next step. Now for concealer, I'm using the Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Lift and Flex in shade number 9. I want to talk to you about this formula before applying because understanding it is more important and it will change how you use it. Now this is a flex concealer, which means it's formulated to move with the skin rather than just sit on it. But flex formulas need to be applied slightly differently than a normal concealer. Pro makeup artists like myself call this the less is everything rule with flex formulas. One thin layer that you build only where you need to. If you apply too much of this formula at once, it has nowhere to flex to except into your fine lines. So for application, I'm going to be using this on a flat brush and I'm going to be applying it. This is the Prunella Brown method. I'm applying this in an inverted 7 number. Once I've applied it, I'm going to start patting it with a tapping motion from the inner corner going outwards. No dragging, no swiping. Just use patting pressure that presses the product into the skin. Now I want you to take your own concealer, whichever one you have at home, and follow exactly what I'm doing. This will help you get some confidence in how and where to apply your concealer. If you have any questions, please leave a comment and I will get back to you quickly. Now for the eyelid, I'm using even a smaller amount and applying it with my brush on the eyelid. Then I'm using my finger to blend it in. Again, wait for 30 seconds. Now if you need more coverage, you can go back in with a tiny amount in specific areas only. Never add a full second layer. Now for setting powder, there are two techniques here that will completely change how your concealer wears. On one side, I'm using the Huda Beauty Easy Bake in Banana Bread and the other side has Peach Pie. I'm just trying to show the difference between the two. It's going to be very subtle. So the first technique is where I take a puff and I dab it into the powder. Now I'm trying to coat the powder puff evenly, but it rarely happens. So I'm going to be patting off the excess at the back of my hand. And then with whatever's on the powder puff, I'm going to be pressing that into the concealer. You can see how smooth it looks already. Now this technique is for the eyelid and baking on the lid is totally different. On the lid, you do not want to pack powder because it will look heavy and it will crease in the socket line. Instead, I'm pressing the powder onto the lid using a stamping motion. You can either press and lift, but never sweep with pressure. So I want you to follow along with me. Take your setting powder and a puff and press that in. Once you remove off the excess, I want you to gently pat it on the under eye to set it in place. You'll already be able to see how blurred it's looking underneath your eye. And this is exactly what we want. We want the concealer to stay in place and not crease as much as possible. And now take a fluffy brush, press that into the powder and apply a thin layer on the eyelid. At this stage, your under eye should look something like this. Now I like to call this last technique the wet press. This is used on professional shoots and almost nobody outside the industry knows about this. I take a clean damp sponge, no product on it, and I lightly spritz some setting spray onto it. Make sure it's a natural finish and not too dewy and not too matte. So basically what this does is it melts the powder into the concealer underneath. So instead of having two separate layers, you will have one seamless finish. But wait, before you go, look down into your mirror, not straight at it. Looking down replicates what your under eye actually looks like when you are living in your face and moving naturally. If it looks smooth at this angle, you are done. And if you see any lines forming, this is where you need to add a tiny light dusting of powder before you leave. So this is the Prunella Brown method and how to stop your concealer from creasing. If you like this video, please hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.